Have you ever wondered how a simple question, like what if you could step into a digital world, led to the creation of one of the most revolutionary devices in modern technology? What began as an idea rooted in the desire to bridge the gap between reality and virtuality has evolved into a device that has not only transformed the way we play games, but also opened doors to a myriad of possibilities across industries. From its beginnings to its impact on how we play, work, and learn, let's uncover the history of the Oculus VR headset. Oculus VR's inception began in 2012 when Palmer Luckey, a young enthusiast with a passion for virtual reality, developed a prototype of the Oculus Rift headset. Luckey's goal was to create a more immersive and affordable VR experience than what was available at the time. He worked on improving the technology and design, eventually launching a Kickstarter campaign in August 2012 to fund the production of the Oculus Rift. The Kickstarter campaign was a massive success, surpassing its funding goal of $250,000 within hours and eventually raising over $2.4 million. This demonstrated the high level of interest and demand for accessible VR technology. Oculus Rift's promise of providing a more immersive gaming and interactive experience captured the attention of both developers and gamers. The successful Kickstarter campaign led to increased visibility and partnerships, helping Oculus VR to further develop its technology. The company showcased its prototypes at various gaming events, gaining critical acclaim and support from the gaming community. The first Oculus Rift designed for consumers was introduced in 2016, marking a significant moment in the world of virtual reality. This Oculus Rift CV1 kickstarted a major change in how we experience VR, making it accessible to everyone with a computer. The Oculus Rift CV1 was a game changer, revolutionizing VR gaming and opening it up to a wider audience. Shortly after, Valve and Ortsai also entered the VR market, prompting Facebook to innovate to stay competitive. During this time, there was a strong focus on improving wired VR experiences. Companies worked hard to enhance display quality and refresh rates in their devices, aiming to create a more immersive and enjoyable experience for users. In 2019, Facebook surprised the industry once again with the release of the Oculus Quest, a wireless VR solution that made a lasting impact. This move gave Facebook a significant advantage in the wireless VR market, without the need for expensive adapters or less than optimal phone-based VR setups. Building on the success of the original Quest, Facebook launched the Oculus Quest 2 in just a year's time. The Quest 2 was a refined version that not only improved on its predecessor's features, but also reduced its size and weight. As we approach a year since the latest Oculus headset hit the market, an important question arises. Which of these headsets offers the best value for your investment? Is the transition from wired to wireless VR worth the initial cost? Let's dive into the details of these headsets. To start, we'll look at the design changes these devices have undergone over time. We'll go back to the beginning, in March 2016, when the Oculus Rift CV1 made its debut. This marked a significant milestone for VR. The CV1 package included the Rift headset, touch controllers, and 2 sensors. However, these sensors had limitations, restricting gameplay to a forward-facing orientation. We'll delve into this limitation in more detail. Weighing just over a pound without the cable, the CV1 was the lightest Oculus device up to that point. One key aspect that deserved attention was the display quality, particularly in addressing the screen door effect, a common issue in VR. The CV1 had a PRI resolution of 1080 by 1200 pixels, projected on screens positioned very close to your eyes. Despite advancements, the resolution fell slightly short of completely eliminating the visible pixels, leading to the distracting screen door effect at times. The touch controllers were one area where Oculus excelled. Although they weighed around 166 grams, which was more than most smartphones, their design and ergonomics were unmatched in the VR landscape. Notably, the controllers had sturdy paracord wrist straps for secure gameplay. However, the CV1's launch came with a limitation. It initially supported only forward-facing gameplay. This constraint affected the experience of certain games at the time. A standout game during this period was Beat Saber, a rhythm game that cleverly worked within the constraints of forward-facing play. It adopted a railed approach that influenced games like Thumper and Pistol Whip. But as games grew more ambitious, some highlighted the limitations of the Oculus tracking system. The breakthrough title was Super Hoot, our adaptation of a popular mouse and keyboard game. Super Hoot's mechanics aligned naturally with players' instincts, and its intuitive controls resonated deeply. Super Hoot's success showcased a new challenge. Players were tempted to turn around, leading to potential issues with hand and headset tracking and even cable entanglement. A solution arrived in April 2017 when Oculus released a firmware update through the Windows app. This update enabled tracking for up to 4 sensors instead of the original 2, significantly improving the CV1's performance. For the best experience, it was recommended to use 3 or 4 sensors with the original model. This enhancement was highlighted by a game that launched 3 months later. This game broke down the barriers between your physical space and the virtual arena, introducing Room Scale VR. While earlier setups were limited to 180-degree play, Gorn allowed complete rotation, albeit with some constraint. Initially, Oculus approached the idea of supporting more than 2 sensors with caution due to setup complexities. The sensor's sensitivity to signal quality, operating as infrared webcams, led to issues when multiple sensors were connected to the computer's USB bus. This overwhelmed the bus and resulted in compromised tracking quality. The use of USB extenders required for multiple sensors often caused problems ranging from tracking issues to device malfunctions, frustrating users seeking Room Scale VR experiences. The Oculus Quest, launched in 2019, bridged the gap between wired and wireless VR experiences. One of the most significant changes Oculus made to the design of the original Quest was primarily related to its weight, which had a substantial impact on the overall feel of the headset. The headset's mass underwent an increase of more than 100 grams due to the inclusion of a graphics processor, cooling system, and battery, which led to a noticeable difference in the headset's overall weight. While the extra weight might not seem like a major alteration, it actually resulted in a tangible difference when using the product for extended periods, especially considering its intended use as a wearable device for extended duration. There were various modifications made to the touch controllers as well, including a change that stirred some controversy, shifting from a paracord wrist strap to a pleather one. Some players found the new strap design to be flimsier and less trustworthy. Perhaps the most substantial alteration to the controllers was the adjustment of the tracking ring's orientation. Unlike the previous design, where the ring faced outward toward the sensors, it now points inward toward the user. Speaking of the sensors, the Quest also introduced a significant change in tracking methodology. This new approach, referred to as inside-out tracking, marked a major shift in how the headset tracked its position. Provided you were in a well-lit environment, the headset was capable of autonomously tracking its position within a room without necessitating any external setup, a major advancement over the previously required intricate PC-based configuration. The era of complicated and frustrating CC setups was left behind, replaced by a simple process. You could now effortlessly draw a boundary in the desired area, and your gaming session could commence right away. The shift from wired to wireless VR was a monumental transformation, offering players an entirely new level of freedom in movement and interaction, a fresh experience that even those who had been using the original CV. However, this shift also brought forth a new challenge, something not encountered in the realm of wireless VR before battery life became a prominent concern, demanding regular charging or power management. The absence of wired connections in the Quest introduced the notion of battery life limitations, a stark contrast to the CV1, which relied solely on the touch controller batteries. Those batteries were known to last an impressive 20 to 30 hours before requiring a replacement. With the Quest, users had to contend with the headset's battery life, which lasted 2 to 3 hours at best. This became a notable downside for some individuals who found the limited battery life a drawback when compared to the original hardware. Yet, another significant challenge faced by the Oculus Quest was its initially sparse game library, a situation that impacted the early adopters' experience. At its launch, the Quest featured a selection of games that leveraged enhanced mobility, but most of these were titles already available on the Oculus Rift platform. Initially, playing these familiar games with the newfound mobility was exciting, but the novelty wore off swiftly, leading to feelings of monotony and, in some cases, frustration. This was particularly true for players who discovered that repurchasing their favorite Steam games was necessary to play them on the Quest. The Quest, as a completely self-contained mobile system, required games to be locally installed on the headset itself, which came with its own set of considerations. The Oculus Quest was released in two versions: a 64GB model priced at $399 and a 128GB variant for $499, offering choices based on storage needs. Early on, concerns arose about the lower storage capacity of the base model, as it seemed inadequate to accommodate a diverse range of games. This situation led to what could be aptly described as flagship. It is a term indicating the tendency to associate expanded storage with higher-priced models, effectively incentivizing users to invest more than originally intended. Drawing parallels to Apple's product strategy, where the cost disparity between storage tiers doesn't necessarily match the actual cost of adding more storage, this approach could drive users to spend more for relatively minor hardware upgrades. Normally, on devices of this nature, the option to augment storage through external means, such as adding an SD card post-purchase, is provided. An example is the Steam Deck, which permits users to upgrade storage capacity as needed. The situation of flagship arises when companies like Oculus, and in this case, Apple, do not incorporate expansion slots in their devices, preventing users from personally expanding storage. Instead, they encourage users to opt for higher-priced models if more storage is desired. Unlike devices such as the Steam Deck, Oculus Quest users did not have the option to increase storage independently post-purchase, a limitation that could be perceived as a drawback. This phenomenon of flagship becomes evident when companies such as Oculus and Apple, in this instance, omit expansion options on their devices, pushing users to purchase more expensive models if they require additional storage. Surprisingly, the relatively limited storage space on the base Quest model proved to be less of an issue due to the optimization of storage usage, resulting in a unique solution. Creating VR games poses a considerable challenge due to the need to render two separate 3D scenes at a high frame rate for a seamless experience, a task that demands meticulous optimization. Given the Quest's reliance on a mobile processor, game developers were compelled to find ways to make their titles less resource-intensive, thereby accommodating the hardware's limitations. The simplest way to enhance game performance is to decrease the quality of textures, a strategy that was employed to varying degrees by developers. Initially, the storage requirement was indicated as 175 GB, but this was subsequently revised down to 80 GB as developers introduced an optional download for high-resolution texture packs. While this reduction in storage requirement might sound impressive, the change was mainly achieved by allowing users to choose whether to download the high-resolution texture pack or not. With games optimizing their texture quality, the storage demand of 64 GB became more manageable, leading to fewer storage-related concerns. Over time, only a moderate number of games were released for the Oculus Quest, including titles like Robo Recall, Creed, and Moss, contributing to a somewhat limited game library. Eventually, Facebook introduced Oculus Link as a solution, enabling the Quest to be connected to a computer, thereby granting access to games that were otherwise unavailable to Quest users, such as indie and Steam titles. The Oculus Quest, already possessing impressive hardware, finally gained a vast content library through Oculus Link, rectifying a major deficiency. While Oculus Link had its limitations, including the option of a paid app that required enabling developer mode and sideloading through a third-party application, it remained the most accessible solution for the average user. Given the need to bolster initial sales numbers, Oculus launched the Oculus Quest 2 just a year and a half after the original Quest, a move that aimed to address the shortcomings of the original. The Quest 2 boasting a multitude of improvements, managed to outsell its predecessor within a comparable timeframe. In light of Valve's Index headset gaining traction, Oculus had to re-evaluate its hardware and software strategy to remain competitive in the VR landscape. Approximately 18 months after the launch of the original Quest, Oculus introduced the Oculus Quest 2, which, despite appearing primarily iterative, turned out to be a highly refined version and the most impressive iteration of the Quest lineup. If you're wondering about the omission of the Oculus Rift as in this discussion, there's a reason behind it. Fast forward to the present, and the Oculus Quest 2 stands as the latest and most advanced piece of hardware from Oculus. While the changes might seem primarily cosmetic, one noticeable alteration is the bright white paint job, which sets it apart from its predecessor. The strap system of the Quest 2 sparked some controversy, although it's not as significant as it might initially appear. The previous Quest strap relied heavily on Velcro adjustments to secure the headset in place for a single user. The Quest 2, however, replaced the rigid plastic mechanism with a more flexible elastic band, a change that seems appropriate given the headset's reduced weight. The elastic straps offered effective support for the headset, and their flexibility made it quicker to share the device among friends, particularly in a social setting like a LAN party. The choice between strap systems largely comes down to personal preference, and one's decision might be influenced by the ease of sharing the headset. For those who prefer the older design, it's worth noting that the new straps can be replaced with third-party alternatives. The touch controllers on this model remained largely unchanged, aside from a return to the previous paracord wrist strap instead of the pleather version. The Quest 2 managed to address many of the shortcomings of the original. The Quest 2 achieved success in several areas where the original Quest fell short. Most notably, the Quest 2 launched with a robust lineup of titles, including sequels to popular games and standout VR experiences. Additionally, Beat Saber introduced multiplayer functionality with the Quest 2's launch, enhancing the social aspect of gaming for those who enjoyed playing with friends. The Quest 2 software support was significantly stronger than its predecessors. It introduced high refresh rate modes, hand tracking, and a vital feature called AirLink, which enabled seamless wireless streaming from a computer to the headset. While these features eventually trickled back to the original Quest, the Quest 2 offered cutting-edge support that made it an appealing choice for those seeking the latest features. Before jumping to conclusions that wireless headsets are the unequivocal winners, it's important to acknowledge two areas where wireless headsets lag behind the original CV. 1. The first drawback pertains to audio. The Quest series deviated from the Rift's conventional over-ear headphone design, opting for open speakers mounted on the headband. While this alteration increased awareness of one's surroundings during gameplay, it also meant that the audio experience was less immersive. This design choice also allowed others to hear the game being played. A potential solution involves using personal headphones, which can be plugged into the headset to enhance audio immersion. One of the strengths of the CV1 lay in its tracking capabilities, especially when multiple sensors were used. The CV1 featured a sophisticated tracking system that utilized multiple sensors, ensuring that the touch controllers remained visible and responsive at all times. In contrast, the Quest series faced limitations due to its reliance on face tracking. If the user's gaze wasn't fixed on their hands, tracking could be lost, leading to instances of inconvenience. Despite considerable improvements, limitations still persisted in the Quest 2. For instance, simple actions like picking up an object positioned behind the user required turning around to regain visibility. This limitation could lead to frustrating moments during gameplay, such as in Beat Saber, where the lack of tracking due to diverted attention could cause the sabers to lose track and become stuck. Nevertheless, the Quest series' positive aspects ultimately eclipsed these challenges, resulting in an impressive overall experience for users. One of the major enhancements introduced with the Quest 2 was the upgraded screen. Boasting a resolution of 1832 by 1920 pixels, the Quest 2 offered the highest pixel density of any Oculus device. This upgrade effectively eliminated the screen door effect, which had been a significant issue with the original Rift. Moreover, The Quest 2 managed to achieve this while being lighter and more responsive compared to its predecessor. Additionally, the transition from OLED to LCD panels allowed Oculus to offer higher refresh rate options, since OLED panels could be pushed to higher refresh rates more easily. By the close of 2020, the Quest 2 supported 120 Hz refresh rates in select games, setting a new standard for mobile VR console refresh rates. Despite outward appearances, the Quest 2 managed to outperform its predecessor, achieving nearly 1,000 more sales within the same timeframe as the original Quest. To date, the Quest 2 boasts nearly 5 million units sold. However, it's crucial to note that the Quest 2 also marked a significant shift in Oculus's branding, as it firmly aligned with the broader Facebook metaverse. Notably, the Quest 2 required users to have a Facebook account in order to use the headset, marking a departure from previous Oculus practices. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. If you enjoyed watching it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below to let us know your thoughts, and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on our future content.